All right, that's it. I am tired as hell of being single. I've been doing this YouTube channel for way too long. It's been pissing me off with you and your absolutely disgusting comments in the comments section. My balls need an extraordinarily large release just due to the tension and also the fact that it's been a while. I am in need of the Pootang Boomerang. Pootang Boomerang, this was actually sent to me from Steel Panther, or at least their PR guy. This is a delay pedal, which by the way has a really badass look. Every picture I've taken of this thing looks amazing, which I mean, doesn't really mean much as far as how it's used, but I mean, that's pretty cool, right? It's an analog delay pedal, which considering the style of Steel Panther, which is kind of trying to emulate 80s hair metal, makes a lot of sense. Eddie Van Halen kind of made that generation of a sound, which also took its way off into a bunch of different generations, but we can get into that in another video. Point being, the fact that it's an analog delay makes a lot of sense and does help you get that more retro type of quote-unquote metal tone. Also has an amazing name. I really like this thing. The knobs actually feel really nice. They got a nice smoothness to them where it's not too easy to push them over, but it's not too hard either, and you're not feeling like you're gonna accidentally push it too far if you like bump into it or something. So it comes with this absolutely hilarious instruction manual. Pootang Boomerang. Steel Panther's Pootang Boomerang is a delay pedal which plays with space. Not the shit up in the sky, the space around you that'll fuck with ya ears. In addition to the full functionality of a traditional analog delay, the Boomerang also has a boost and modulation which lets you go apeshit and gets your undercarriage tingling. So wanna play? Let's get stuck in. It's fucking ace for soloing. When you kick on extra volume, the Boomerang's gonna add extra colors to your tone, like when your acid tab kicks in on your dick. Majestic as fuck. The circuit is based on the best of classical delays with the functionality of best-selling delays of current day and age. Jesus, that's a load of horse shit, ain't it? Basically, the Pootang Boomerang delivers the goods faster than you blowing your goo for the first time. God. So yeah, that's basically how this instruction manual goes. Okay, so to give you a quick rundown of the pedal, we have our output jack, which is labeled as pull out mate, our input jack, which is labeled as jam it in mate, and then we have our first knob here, which is distance, which is basically how much time between your time you play and your first delay. Feedback, which is the amount of delay echoes you're gonna get out of your pedal. So the one thing I really like about this is you have a separate knob each for dry and wet signal. Because this is an analog delay, like it said in the manual, it's gonna add color, and the more you boost it, it's gonna add more and more hair to what you got going on with your sound. You could run this thing completely dry, just kill the wet signal and just drive the dry signal, and you'll actually get analog coloring to your signal coming out of your amplifier, which actually can sound pretty cool. We'll get into that in a little bit. Then we have our toggle switch here, which goes between G'day, which is our delay setting, and then Crikey, which is our modulating setting, our chorus setting, which honestly, after playing around with it a little bit, I couldn't really tell the difference between the two necessarily. Maybe I hadn't played around with it enough. That could be the case. Now, if you actually pop off the back, there's even another switch inside of here that you can switch between two different modulations. So yeah, it's a pretty versatile pedal, I will say that. And not only that, but I mean, like, if you really are trying to go for a true Eddie Van Halen sound and don't want to buy an Echoplex, this is not a bad option at all. And it looks cool as shit. Now, I recorded all of this through my Friedman BE50 with the 212 cab that comes from Wildwood Guitars exclusively, and I had it mic'd on the cream back. Friedman, for those of you who don't know, is basically just a hot-rodded Marshall, and a hot-rodded old Marshall, like when they were really good. So the first setting that I tried to play with was like that extremely overdone, like really needs to stop sometime soon, please. A clean delay effect where it sounds like you're playing more notes than what you really are, and it's basically for people who are like kind of okay at the guitar but really not that good. I'd say it did that fairly well. I gave it a ton of feedback, made the signal very wet, did not move the dry signal. Next, I tried my closest approximation of an Eddie Van Halen tone. Now, this I did not do technically correctly because it should be through the front of the amplifier, which I believe is how Eddie used to do it when he was first starting out. That would actually, he broke the rules, believe it or not, and he put the delay, instead of at the end of his signal chain, he put it at the front of his signal chain. It was that echoplex, so he could drive and get that hair and then go through a distortion pedal and then go through, I forget what else he went through. But yeah, I mean, you got feedback for days on that, and you can do some pretty fun stuff with that. Very 80s. So the next setting I went with was something that looked a little bit more like a typical delay pedal, just to kind of add a little bit of room, maybe a little bit of color, not trying to make it huge and super wet. It was very dry for the most part. I only boosted the dry a little bit to give me a little bit of an extra push. And it was going through my effects loop again, so this way it was a lot cleaner. Suck it, Jimmy Page. I wanted to demonstrate how much hair this thing can put on your signal. So I drove the dry and wet signal super hard. I didn't even use that much feedback. It doesn't need it, to be honest with you. It's so ugly, but in like a really cool way. Because you have some control between the dry and wet signal, I actually ducked the dry signal a little bit, and it gives you this kind of like airy, floaty, kind of like a really weird texture and sound envelope by having a quieter dry signal and then a louder wet signal. It's almost like a whoa, whoa. It almost gives it a little bit of a swell. As with any other delay pedal, you can also do some fun rhythmic stuff if you just want to sit there and literally just smack it. I use my hands and I use the nail file on one of my nail clippers. Alright, so at the end of the day, would I buy this? No, because they sent it to me for free. Just kidding. So in all honesty, would I buy this? If I was looking for a delay pedal, I would definitely consider this. I would not use this on the front end of my amp for my personal choice because it fills out the low end a little bit too much and loosens it up, and also gives me a little bit too much of that analog hair for the type of sound that I'm going for with this project. Would I use it in my effects loop? Yes, definitely. It is super clean, very pristine, and if you bump up the dry and wet signal, you can start to get some of that hair, but it's not as much as throwing it into the front of a Friedman. And I mean, especially on clean signal, it's like absolutely gorgeous. Not only that, but just the branding on it is hilarious, you know, just to be like, oh dude, look what I got. So yeah, all in all, this thing is cool. You can catch it in the links below. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you like this video, if you like what I do on this channel, please support me on Subscribestar. That is the only way I can keep doing what I do for you on YouTube. And you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Become the Knight. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you in the next video. Rock on!